Pubco Studios in Oklahoma City. You're watching the Press Row. I'm Jenni Carlson here with Barry Tramel. It's time for our weekly 5 and 5 segment. 5 topics, 5 minutes, 1 bell. Let's get right to it. Barry, let's start here. Describe Keiton Page's legacy.
Fun. Yeah. I'm going to say fun. Could say loved. I think Keiton's not one of the great players in OSU history. Travis Ford keeps saying that, but it's not true. He's not one of the 30 or 40 best players. Somewhere in the 40s or 50s if I was ranking players, but he's loved and he's fun. Cowboy fans really identified. Little white kid from Pawnee, looked like he might have played for Mr. Iba in 1954, but here he is scoring 40 on Texas and 29 on Kansas, 29 on the Sooners. Just a guy that can fill it up. Gets the most out of his ability. I think he's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Can't take your eyes off of him, and I think Cowboy fans really identified with him.
I think that's true. And, Travis Ford does keep saying one of the great players. And I think John Helsley, our OSU beat writer, said it very well earlier this week. He's not one of the greatest players, but he's one of the greatest Cowboys. And Bear, I think that speaks to that sort of connection that you're talking about. Here's a local kid who is OSU through and through. I talked to Keiton's dad, David, before senior night earlier this week, and I asked him about Keiton, the fact that he had committed, then Sean Sutton gets fired and he's playing for a new coach. And his dad said he didn't commit to Sean Sutton, he committed to Oklahoma State. This was a guy who wanted to play at Oklahoma State, and really you saw that passion. And Barry, he's a good player to boot. Let's not forget, Kansas played some good defense on him, and he still scored 29 points.
You don't score 40 on Texas if you're not a good player.
No doubt about it. All right, let's get to some football. How about OU spring football, which starts next week, Barry? What's the best storyline?
Well, to me, the best storyline is the welcome back Cotter story. Mike Stoops is back in town. Him and the brother reunited, and it's been 8 years. Lots changed. Sooners have defensively took some hits in this new age of Big 12 wide open offense. It was the glory days when he was here before. Fans think he's bringing back the glory days. Maybe he will, but I think it's going to be fascinating to see the relationship between the Stoops brothers and what Mike does with that defense.
Well, seeing Mike back on the sidelines, I got to tell you, there was some video last week that I stumbled across of Clemson's first spring practice, and seeing Brent Venables in anything other than Sooner red, a little bit weird. So it's going to be interesting to see, is Mike Stoops being back in Crimson going to be a little bit of an interesting thing. But I think aside from Mike Stoops' return, you have to say that sort of the recovery of sort of that Sooner magic, is this spring going to start something that gets Oklahoma football back, sort of into a winning mentality? They just really had so many struggles last year, Barry. It's sort of that internal feeling that it was never quite right. Can Landry Jones coming back? Can some of these guys, you look at the defense, guys like Tony Jefferson, can they maybe start to build some cohesion that was missing last year? Will we see that in the spring? I don't know. But that's something to me that's got to be a big issue as they move forward. You got to start right now.
And the good news for the Sooners is this. You're right. It was in many ways a disappointing season. Maybe not a disastrous season, but a disappointing season. They went 10-3.
Year. All right. How about some NBA talk, Barry? We're at the midway point. Will the Thunder get the number 1 seed in the West? Wow, this feels big. Are they getting the number 1 seed?
I think it's virtually certain.
Whoa.
For this reason, the Spurs are not. The Spurs not even going to try. I mean, the Spurs don't care about seeding and that kind of thing. They rest their guys. They win when they can, and they don't mind losing games here and there. The Spurs aren't shooting for the number 1 seed. The Clippers are about to hit a really tough stretch. They had a soft schedule in the first half. Be tough for them to get going. Dallas is still sort of squishy. The Lakers are old and fading. I think Thunder's clear number 1 in the West. I don't know about the playoffs. We'll talk about that when they get here. Yeah. But in terms of number 1 seed, I think it's absolute.
Well, because you mentioned that softer schedule for the Clippers. If you look at the Thunder schedule, it wasn't an easy first half of the season. They had some fairly tough games. They'll have tough games and tough stretches the rest of the season, but to have a record that's tied for the best in the league and to have gone through some of the games that they went through, I mean, Barry, to me, that says this is a really good team. Now, there's scuttlebutt out there. Is this a jump shooting team? Can they win in the playoffs? But what I saw against a team like the Lakers, a team that not too long ago was talked about as potentially the best team in the West, they're so much better than the Lakers. It's not laughable, but it really is amazing how much more athletic they are than the Lakers. I think they would definitely win a playoff series against those guys, which I didn't know. I didn't think 2 months ago was a for sure thing, but now I really like the way this team is playing, really like where they're headed. All right, how about this one? It's high school basketball. Best thing about the big house this weekend, Barry, we've got small school, I forgot the bell, small school state championships. What's the best thing about the big house?
I think it's the wardrobes. I love what everybody's wearing. I love what the players are wearing because you see some of the worst uniforms of all time. It's like the two-toners from Kansas State in the 70s.
Or the two-toners from the All-Star game.
Yeah, there's not a lot of great, it's not a lot of cool uniforms, which makes it cool. It's old school. I like it. I like the cheerleading uniforms. You know, you go to, go to a pro game, go to a college game. You look, the cheerleaders and the Palms look like they're at the beach. Not so at the big house. That's old school. I like what the fans are wearing. Kids painting their faces, and guys, 15-year-old boys with socks up to their knees, cheering on the girls' team. I love it. The fans walking around with the FFA jackets. I like everything about the fashion at the big house.
All right, enough with the fashion. To me, there are two great moments at the big house, and they're not just particular to small school weekend, but I think they're heightened. Two things happen during small school state championships. Everybody lines up to get the seats on the floor, and when they get those seats cleared out, they come in mass, and it's a big herd of people, and everybody's going crazy and laughing and smiling and getting their seats. To me, that's just kind of a, you get chills watching it. And then when everybody's seated, right before they get ready to go, they flip on the lights, Barry. They flip on the lights at the big house, and everybody oohs and ahs. To me, those are two great moments at the big house during the state tournament.
I guess those lights use a lot of electricity because they sure do act like they're trying to watch the pennies.
Leave them off until the very last minute. All right, lastly, Barry. All right, after the big wins for the artist at the Oscars, will you go see a silent movie?
Well, I will not go see a silent movie, and if I went and saw a silent movie, it sure wouldn't be from France. But I will say, I got a question, though. I got a question. When you go to a talkie movie, you're supposed to be quiet. Does that mean if you go see a silent movie that you can talk? Can you have a conversation with the people you came with? Can you talk on your cell phone? Can you pull out your laptop and watch a real movie on your via DVD? These are the questions I have. And what's gone on with Hollywood, please? Is that the best you can come up with? A silent movie from France is now the best movie of the year? When did they quit making good movies?
Did you just say you wouldn't go to a silent movie from France? Is there some sort of language barrier there that you're going to have a problem with?
I can't read French. I can't read French.
There's no dialogue. You don't need to understand French.
I can't read French. Is there not? They don't have the words on the screen?
Clearly, I haven't seen the artist, so I don't know either. But I would say as far as me going to a silent movie, probably not. I'll leave that to the more artsy types in our world, and I'll take the ones with talking. And be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.